friend Roger Christopherson here again with another first listen review. And if my babbling seems really babbly today, it's because I was not prepared at all to talk about this album. Wasn't planning on it, but I just got done listening to this thing, and holy smokes, is it good. So I had no choice. I have to talk about this album. It's Don Airey and his new solo album called Push to the Edge. And if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty much the same band as his previous album, solo album that he's done. This is number 6, 7, something like that. I don't know. I can't remember now. But this is basically his solo band. Is for anybody who doesn't know out there. This is, Simon McBride was playing in his solo band, and when Steve Morse decided he had to leave Deep Purple, they had a guitar player ready and raring to go in Don Airey's solo band. I did a review on that album, Equals One. Fantastic album, I think. That's like great Deep Purple album. If you haven't picked that one up yet, you should if you're a Deep Purple fan. It sounds like Deep Purple. I mean, it really like 70s Deep Purple. So anyway, I'm not reviewing that one again. Talking about this new one, which oddly enough sounds a lot like early Deep Purple, which is fine with me. I was actually blown away by how good this album is. I'm just letting the cat out of the bag right from the start. And I didn't know this until I kind of was, because I heard this album was coming out, and I was just kind of reading up on who was on it and stuff like that. And I saw this little tidbit that he is one of the most recorded keyboardists of all time, with over 300 albums that he has recorded. Which I did not know that. I've known from bands like such. He's done. He's worked with Ozzy and Rainbow, Whitesnake. I didn't remember that he had worked with Judas Priest. I knew he'd done Gary Moore, and had worked a little bit with Tull and Sabbath. Obviously Deep Purple, but I'd known him from majority of those bands, but I didn't realize he had done that much other stuff. So that's kind of cool. It's unfortunately it's hard to keep track of everybody in every band, but I obviously know Don Airey. I've known of him for years. I've heard all the work from those bands there, but I didn't realize he was that recorded. So it was interesting to read that. But back to the album here. The band pretty much consists of himself, Simon McBride, which I mentioned. Their drummer is named John Finnegan, which I'm really not too familiar with him either, and bassist Dave Marks. The interesting thing on this one, as far as the vocals goes, he still has Carl Sinton singing on it, who, sings with Persian Risk, who's like the band I'd known him from, but he also took over in Nazareth. If Nazareth is still active, I really don't know what's going on with them at this point, but he was working with them for a while. And I've heard him sing on some couple other things here recently too. He seems to be popping up here and there on some other and nothing's really popping in my head right now. I know I've heard him sing on some other stuff too. So he's on here again, but the surprise thing on here is they have another vocalist by the name of Mitchell Ems. Well, I've never heard of before. Apparently he was on The Voice UK, and I don't know if he won. I don't know anything about this guy, but he sings a couple songs on here. And so I guess I'll get to that point right off the bat. Songs, killer. It has the majority of them, I'll say, have that early Deep Purple sound, really rainbowish, Whitesnake, more like Blackmore era type sound, which is funny because Don Airey, I guess he was in Rainbow for a little bit there, but in actual Deep Purple he was with Steve Morse, and he was very true to the Deep Purple sound. So it's funny that he kind of has that John Lord-ish playing going on here, although he definitely has his own distinct style. Phrasing he uses is different for sure on his solo stuff. He tends to play a lot faster when it comes to the solo things he does than John did, but they're completely different style of players, generally speaking. I think he does very good at staying true to what he does in Deep Purple with those parts, but on here it was just strange to hear him sounding so like Deep Purple, that Hammond sound, although he does use a couple other, he pretty much sticks to that as his main thing, although they just step away from that a couple times here and there. And but seriously, there's 11 songs in here, and I would say 8 of the 11 really have that strong early Deep Purple sound. And that's the point I was just trying to get to, but it's taking me a little bit, is that Carl Sentence, when he sings, he comes in and you can tell there's not a whole lot of, and I'm not a fan of auto-tune or anything like that. You can tell they're not doing a heck of a lot of stuff here. And I guess what I'm trying to say is he relies a whole lot more on personality than he does pitch. And it's a good thing he has a lot of personality to his voice, which he does, because it takes away from the fact that he's not the strongest singer and a little off here and there, but he does have that personality shining through, which most of the time is fine. Every now and then I find it getting a little bit, he's got a very nasally sound to his voice, so every now and then I just found it a little bit distracting. I mean, that's the only thing on this whole entire album, is that just occasionally it gets to be a little bit too much here and there. That's like my only negative I've got to say. And then Mitchell M sings like a couple of these songs, and when he takes over, it's like, I hate to say it, but man, I think this album would have been great if he had sang on every single song. He's definitely got a much more, I don't even know how to describe his voice. It's much more, it's not as, he doesn't have that strong personality in it where he's all over the place with the notes, but he's definitely got a smoother sound to his voice, more warm sound, not as nasally. The only thing that he lacks a little bit is like a little bit of the attitude, which some of these songs do require, because they're up-tempo songs, you know, that if you picture some of the like up-tempo Deep Purple songs, a lot of these are like that. They're not like laid-back, bluesy stuff generally, although there's a couple things on here that are like that. One of the funny things on here, one of the most like out in left field songs on the whole album is track number 5, Flame in the Water. It's mainly piano, and I guess you'd call it a ballad, but it picks up this cool solo thing at the end, which is like really cool, with Simon and him going to town on that one. I thought that was really cool. And Simon's all over this album too. He doesn't take over, but Simon McBride has his own cool style of playing, and there's certain songs he really shines on, and this was one of them. He actually, anytime he takes a solo spot on this album, he really shines. I'm really impressed with how good of a player he is. Very precise playing. There's no sloppiness to his playing at all, but he has a feel to it as well, which it's very hard to hear. I think nowadays there's so many guitar players in solos that saturate music. Sometimes I get kind of bored with solos anymore, but it's so when you hear a guitar player that's got personality in his playing and is really precise, that's hard to find, and he really shines on this album. But yeah, back to that album, the song Flame in the Water. I tend to babble. When I babble, I go all over the place. I lose focus a little bit. But that song, it's funny, I was listening to it, I go, man, this kind of gives me a feel of some other song, and there might be a lot of people that don't know the song I'm referring to, but I was thinking of Vandenberg popped into my head, Different Worlds. If you've ever heard that song, it gave me that kind of same feel and vibe to that song, and I was like, oh yeah, that's where that reminds me. It was kind of bugging me halfway through the song. I was like, what does this kind of sound like? And that's kind of the one that came to mind. I was like, okay, well that's cool. It gave me, and I love Vandenberg, one of my favorite guitar players out there. So that was cool. I know I said cool several times, so if you're playing along and doing the drinking game, I think there's 3 shots there you might have had to have taken. But the other kind of cool one here was Girl from Highland Park. That was a little bit more, also a little bit left to center, kind of a jazzier type feel to it, and probably my least, honestly, that was probably my least favorite one on here. But then it gets back into the bluesier, style playing then. And talking about, I was kind of mentioning his solo style. He does play very fast, but not like blazing, like, lightning fast solos, but a lot faster than you would ever hear most of the guys in this style play. When the Hammond, organ, you hear there's a lot of guys out there that, in the 70s and 80s that, mainly 70s, I guess, that, do a lot of Hammond stuff and solos. But he's like, even though he plays fast, he's very melodic in his playing. He definitely has like some cool phrasing. And there's a couple songs on here where Simon and him go back and forth, and the call and answer type thing. And it's really cool to hear what he can do with a keyboard and throw actually his personality into the keyboard playing, because these two guys are brilliant players, amazing. And the rhythm section of John and Dave is just solid, rock solid. And in fact, the last song in here, Finnegan's Awake, it's kind of like a little place where John gets to shine a little bit there, instrumental. And I didn't even realize it was Don talking at the end of it. He kind of introduces the band at the end of the song, and gives a little bit of a send off there. And that was kind of a cool way. The only other little nitpicky thing is there's a couple songs that faded out. Man, it was like you can hear a blazing solo, and I think the one was Simon, and I forget what song it is now, quite honestly. He's jamming out, and the song fades. Man, I hate that. That just drives me crazy. I want to hear like all the solo. I hate wasted music, especially when it's there. It's there. It's recorded. Let us hear it. But anyway, so my two little nitpicky things, there's the vocals occasionally, and then the fade outs. Otherwise, great album. Even the weak song on here was still cool. Only one that was slightly weak at all, I think. Cool album. I mean, if you're a fan of any of the bands I even mentioned in here, you're probably going to love this. Worth checking out. The surprise hit for me of the week was this one. It's my favorite one out of all the ones I got. And there's some really good albums came out this week, but this one here just like blew me away. So as always, I welcome the comments. Feel free to mention whatever you want. If you've heard this, what do you guys think of it? Any cool stuff in his past catalog we should check out, because that's always one thing I love hearing is like recommendations of things that maybe I've missed. It's kind of part of the reason I do this is for recommendations. And like, share, and subscribe to keep this music alive, because if he's got stuff like this still left in him, I can't wait to hear more. I really can't. This is cool as heck. But until next time, we'll see you.